Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Charlie with another video talking about the comics I got this week. So typically this week would have been a little bit heavier for me because a bunch of books came out, um, which I've been reading. But because, as I mentioned in my last video, I'm actually for the time being cutting off uh, my the books that I'm picking up. I just picked up two books. So books that I've been reading that came out this week: The Flash, The Terrifics, and Mira, Freedom of Atlantis. I didn't get those books. Hopefully, I might be able to catch up with them soon. So I'll probably give my thoughts on them. But I'm not promising anything right now because yeah, the exchange rate. It seems it's getting better. So probably next week, I will have more books. But because of you know how the shop is spreading the books right now, those three books might probably I might probably not pick them up for a while. Um, So, once, Man of Steel is over, I'll probably be focusing on the Superman books. So now that they're coming out monthly, I might have a little more leeway on catching up on the books that I've missed. And hopefully the exchange rate won't be as bad as it's been in the last couple of weeks. But right now it seems to be settling down again. So hopefully the shop will drop prices so I could get a couple of books I'm actually interested in picking up that are with the 3.99 price tag. Also, if you've been following the World Cup, Mexico passed for the next phase by a mere accident after losing 3-0 to Sweden. They passed. And on Monday they were facing Brazil, which we've beaten before. But and let's hope they actually move on to the next phase, because usually this phase, that's where we don't we actually get kicked out. So I'm hoping they do go for the next phase, because tomorrow, Sunday, July 1st, we have elections, and it's been very divisive recently here. And the front runner is a very controversial figure. Um, so if he wins, I don't know what's gonna happen. I hope nothing happens. Uh, if the one of the other candidates that's behind the front runner, the second or the third candidates in the polls win, I know what's gonna happen. I'm actually hoping things don't get too serious. But it seems that things are calm right now. The national team passing to the next phase and beating Brazil would definitely ease tensions for a while. So yeah, I mean, it's a very important election. The first one was back in 2000, where we finally got some semblance of democracy, with changing from a one party rule to a different party. Didn't really work out as well. But this one's really very important, because there's change coming to Mexico for the better, I hope, or we get stuck with the same type of policies that really don't help this country to progress. And we have problems with violence. Bunch of candidates have been actually killed for local governments because of the narcos, the cartels. They really want to sort of have a hold in these communities, and either you play ball with them or you get off, or they want to impose their own candidates. So enough of that. Let's go and talk about these two books. As you can see, Saga came out at my showed up at my shop on time. So it was either this book, or perhaps I would have picked up, if it didn't show up, I would have probably picked up the Terrifics, which is also $2.99. So I'll start with Saga because it's a really quick book. So yeah, like I mentioned when I talked about the previous issue, it really ended in a very bad note, and this issue is brutal. A long time character died. Another guy wounded. We got a little bit of a Mexican standoff at the end between the Will and Marco. Yeah, their assassin, badly hurt Alana. Not that, not a terrible thing, but it really kind of hurt her wings. So yeah, I mean, it was expected. It was expected to be a very brutal issue. So, well, I think one more issue before they go for a break, and we'll see where that ends. Though Brian K. Vaughan says it's like more of a, what was it? A more of a quieter issue to a quiet quarter to this issue, though we are left with a major cliffhanger. And everyone's really in danger, due to the freelancers, especially with the Wheel. They subdued the second one, but the Wheel's still out there, and the Marco is on a standoff there. So can't wait for next month's issue. So now Man of Steel number 5. In this, like, believe it's like 22 pages of story. I'm not sure. There's a lot of stuff happening here. Like I said, last issue was kind of just focused on the battle between Superman and Ragol Zar, which kind of takes before and the after from the main battle, which was in Action Comics 1000, which is a very interesting way of introducing the character. And we didn't really get to see anything in the previous issues at the beginning of the fight and after the fight. And it ended with Ragol Zar showing up at the fortress, Superman talking to him, and then Superman destroying his fortress. So this issue really picks up with Superman and Ragol Zar fighting off in space. Superman wondering what the Condorians might have experienced when they saw Ragol Zar show up and end their lives. So they're fighting, and all the way to the moon. Ragol Zar is about to off Superman, but then he sort of turns around and looks at Earth, and if Superman on the moon, Supergirl is helping with another fire as a deputy chief is asking some of her men if they see any sort of pattern between the fires, which was suggested by Batman in the last issue. But those guys really didn't seem to really get what the chief was getting at before, and then soon after, another fire, which Supergirl shows up to help, and then the Justice League shows up to also lend a hand. The Flash was able to end the fire, and then Supergirl goes to the moon, saves Superman. We get this amazing little panel by Adam Hughes, which seems like a little bit of an homage to Crisis. This little homage where Supergirl is carrying Superman takes them to the Hall of Justice, where the Justice League are wondering where Rebel Draw might be. After that conversation, Superman realizes that he's cleansing. If he cleansed Krypton because of the Kryptonians, then he's gonna go and cleanse Earth, because now the house is Kryptonian. So he knows what he's going to do. If he destroyed Krypton, Superman would find him at the Earth's core, which it does in this really, again, amazing double page spread here. And he's actually going to do the same thing he did to Krypton. And of course, you get the 4 pages by Jason Fabok, which further the whole what happened to John and Lois, which seems that Jor-El shows up to take John to travel the universe, or the galaxy, and teach him. And Clark and Lois are very much against it. There's a little discussion here and there. Then we sort of get like this sort of blank panel. So it's like certain things Superman might have forgotten. His memory got wiped out. So I thought, okay, maybe it's not such a bad thing. I mean, I haven't finished reading the Oz Effect, but it seems Jor-El survived that, and it is Jor-El. And so, what are Jor-El's intentions? Is this a story of redemption for Jor-El, who was thrown into one of the worst places on Earth? So I found that very interesting, which I'll get into it in just a second here. I'm just going to talk about the art by Adam Hughes, who hasn't really done a lot of interior art for a while now. I think it's been, I don't recall him doing any interior art since I've been reading comics. So he's just mostly been focusing on covers. But I really enjoy the art. I really like his style, where he could go to these very thicker ink lines. The coloring is also kind of looks like pastel, but it's sort of like darker, with a darker shade at times. Sometimes he goes for this very heavy inking, and sometimes he just makes it a little more subtle. He does the colors for his section. And I mean, I really love, for example, this panel with Supergirl. I mean, just beautiful. I mean, the art is fantastic. That's one of the things you can really complain about this series is the art and the artist involved in this series. So it continues it concludes next week, and then the whole new era continues with Superman in Action Comics. So yeah, so the whole Jor-El thing. I remember a comment by by Sleepy Reader a while back, where he said he felt that both, the revelation that um, the new version of the Cyborg Superman was Zor-El, and then we got this sort of much more evil version of Jor-El. Makes him really think, made him think that now Supergirl and Superman are sort of tainted by this sort of being products of evil, because their vote has been used as villains. Uh, Going back to my thoughts on the whole early rebirth issues of Supergirl, that the very first arc, uh, and even before that, when it was revealed that Zor-El was turned as a new sort of cyborg Superman by Brainiac, I really thought, and I still think that and especially that earlier arc in Supergirl's Rebirth series showed a much more compelling villain, because Zor-El was turned into that, and once he found himself in this body, in this sort of cybernetic body, looking a little bit like Superman, or maybe his brother Jor-El, uh, he was a much more compelling villain than the original version of the cyborg Superman, Hank Henshaw, because I always felt that Henshaw was much more driven by vengeance against Superman, while Zor-El was made into a much more conflicted villain. A man who sort of felt that he had failed Krypton, that he had failed Argo, he had failed his family, and in a twisted way wanted to make up for that. Uh, so that situation sort of maybe made him a little more twisted. Though the idea of Zor-El being sort of villainous really started back in the New 52, where he was kind of a much more shadier character. He created the World Killers. He experimented on Supergirl. With where they kind of changed that a bit, making him a much better person. But since Rebirth really picks up from the New 52, that part had to show up, the whole Cyborg thing. And I could say the same about Jor-El, where it brings a much more interesting contrast between the three Kryptonians. Superman, who was raised by humans, who was able to see both sides of humans and still had hope and saw the best in humans. And that's what drives Superman to do his thing, to inspire people to be much better. Uh, because he has experienced life since a very young age. He was much more aware of the complexities of being a human, and the complexities of our world. Whereas Jor-El was plucked out of time, sent to Earth, to the worst place on Earth, where situation was terrible, and so that's what he saw. He saw the bad of that existed in humans, and only saw the bad. He didn't see the other side, and that kind of drove him to think everything was horrible, and that that his son Kal-El wasn't worthy of being, their Earth's protector, because they did so many terrible things. And then we have Supergirl, who's like in the middle, who remembers Krypton, who came to Earth, who didn't really get the warmest of welcomes, and saw some bad things, but also got the 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 time to experience the good things of Earth and its people. That, you know, makes her want to try to inspire people to be better. So she's more of an helping people in all sort of levels, as Steve Orlando really showed, where she shows compassion, where she wants to talk to people and understand, the criminals that she stops, before even going for a fight. She wants to talk and she wants to understand what motivates them. While Superman does his thing, and just for being Superman, he sort of tries to inspire people to be better, um, but doesn't necessarily go to the much more, comprehensive things like Supergirl did, in her last series, in the or in the current run, which is, she wants to help people in more ways than just, stopping a bad guy. She wants to really get to know the bad guy and know what motivates them, and hopefully help them to be better. While like I said, Superman is more of, he's Superman, right? So you look up to him, you want to be like him, you want to follow him by example. And when he stops criminals, he stops them, gives them to the cops, and usually goes off and goes on with his life, but doesn't really worry too much about what's gonna happen to them. I mean, he does, but not in a sense the way Supergirl has been shown in the current series. And Jor-El, of course, just sees the negative. So it seems that, this current mystery, this as it unfolds, we kind of see that perhaps Jor-El has better intentions in mind for his grandson, for John, but they're still very, Clark and Lewis are very, very doubtful about Jor-El's true intentions. So I imagine that Lois went along with Jor-El and John on this enlightening journey, and that nothing really bad happened to them. So uh, I wonder where this story leads to. If it's concluded next issue, which I suspect that maybe it will be concluded next issue, or in the earlier issues of Action and Superman. Uh, so yes, two really great comics. I expect to get a few more next week besides Man of Steel #6. I'm actually been looking forward to picking up Catwoman #1 because it's done by Joel Jones. So I really do wanna pick up that book. Hopefully it won't be too expensive, as in the fact that the exchange rate keeps at its current rate and the shop doesn't lower the price. I'm actually might pick up that book regardless, or just pick up a back issue. But um, yeah, I'm just kind of curious of picking up Batman #50 as well. But being the 50th issue, I think might be a little more costly. So yes, sorry for the rambling. So I will end this video here, and as always, until next time, keep smiling.